Okay, so looks just like work. So here's the outline for today's presentation. I'll briefly talk about the institute, RPI, and then summarize the School of Engineering, and then we'll talk about the ECSE department, and in particular the research opportunities in our department, which is very important for graduate students, and some other information that are relevant for application to our department. So here are the key people in the graduate program in the ECSE department, Electrical Computer and Systems Engineering. Professor Al-Hussein Abu Zaid is the GPD, Graduate Program Director, and he also manages the doctoral program. His email is shown here. I'm Professor Dharam. I'm the co-GPD, and I overlook or supervise the MS program in the department, and here's my email. And Ms. Kelly Kidd, she's the Senior Student Services Administrator in our department. Our email is here. And if you have got any questions after this presentation, you can reach out to one of us. I would recommend you to really reach out to Ms. Kelly Kidd, and she can actually forward based on what specific questions you have to. So as we move on, here is a little bit about RPI. It's the oldest technological university, research university in the Western Hemisphere, as we call it, and it was founded in 1824. We are going to be very close to celebrating our 200 years in a few years from now. So we have approximately 7,500 students on campus. This includes the undergraduate students and the graduate students, and we have nearly more than 100,000 living alumni. We are highly ranked, close to 50th in the according to the U.S. U.S. News and World Report, and so that actually comes from the fact that we are a research institution, and we really thrive on research and teaching pedagogy, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So here's the beautiful campus of RPI. This photograph is, I believe, from maybe like around October time frame. It looks very nice. Of course, we get a lot of snow. It doesn't look like this in the winter, so it looks much actually better depending upon if you like snow or if you don't like snow. So in terms of location, in the map, here we are in New York State, and we are not very far from the New York City, which is south of us, around 3 hours by driving distance, or to Boston, which is on the east, and then we have Montreal, Canada in the north. And so we are surrounded by a lot of lakes and mountains. It's a beautiful place, and especially people who like outdoors. There's plenty of opportunities throughout the year, all the way from skiing, snow skiing, to hiking in the summer, and so on. So getting to the research aspect at RPI, so we have RPI campus, the Troy campus, where we have around close to 750 labs, studios, technological spaces for research in various departments. We do have what we call as the research centers, which are basically focal point of concentrated research in big areas. And our PhD program is attracts anywhere between 800 to 1,000 students every year. And we actually working on cutting edge technologies, which are basically global challenges in the 21st century, which advances the technology, as well as it helps the society in finding out solutions for problems that occurs at this point. So to give you an example, right now we are in the COVID era, and there's a lot of research that has happened in our at our institute since the early this year, which has in fact actually helped the COVID-related problems. So all the way from disinfecting like masks, helping with PPEs for medical practitioners, and so on. So we are actually not only doing research which are fundamental, long term, but also something that helps us in the near term. So that actually gives the highly application-oriented aspect of the research, and that's very much typical of RPI. So when you get involved with research, you get to see all of these things happening in real time. Research topic changes, and that helps in getting you a more experience in like kind of handling real world challenges in real time. So here are some of the areas which are long-term research themes. Energy, environment, and smart systems is a big area. Biotechnology and life sciences, media, art, science, and technology, computational science and engineering, and nanotechnology and advanced materials. So these are known as the signature thrust areas at RPI. Now, coming to the different programs that I mentioned at RPI, we have these schools, we call it them schools at RPI: the Architecture School of Architecture, School of Business, School of Engineering, where the ECSE department is, School of Humanities, Arts and Social Sciences, Information Technology and Web Sciences, and School of Sciences. So these actually are different schools. And at RPI, one of the things which you're going to see is that we have a very strong collaboration within different schools. So, for example, I collaborate with faculty members in the Business School and School of Architecture and School of Sciences. So, you'll find out that professors, depending upon your research areas, they may be collaborating with different professors in different schools. So, the barrier to collaboration at RPI is very low, which means that the education that you get, the experience that you get, is highly multidisciplinary. It is not a narrow sliver of one specific area, which you may see in most of the institutions across the world. Here you get a little bit of breadth as well as depth. So that's actually very important as you go forward in your career. And at RPI, you can actually definitely gain that kind of exposure. Coming to the School of Engineering, again, we are highly ranked. We have 7 departments, 12 undergraduate programs, and 19 graduate programs. Close to 140 faculty members, undergraduate students around like 3,700 to 4,000, and then we have between 550 to 700 PhD students. All this information is a little bit old, maybe like more than a year old, and we will update this as we get the new numbers, because this year there was issues with COVID and students could not join the program on campus. So these are the numbers which are typical, and that's what I'm showing here. Research funding, we spend around like $50 million every year on research. That's quite a lot of money in different areas, all the way from life sciences, advanced materials, computation, energy, and the systems automation and control. So then I want to actually spend a couple of minutes talking about the electrical, computer, and power engineering program in the 21st century. So since you're going to get involved with research in our department, I thought, like, why not spend a couple of minutes on talking about what are the big things that are happening in our field at this point. So here are some pictures of different themes. So specifically, let's talk about the nanotechnology or nanoelectronics. Okay, so nanoelectronics, in the field of nanoelectronics, we have what is known as the post CMOS integrated electronics, which is also known as the beyond CMOS, or also beyond the Moore's law paradigm. That means we are working on research which is going to lead to devices that are smaller than today's devices. There is going to be nanoscale and actually atomic scale devices, and that's where you basically have not only device design changes, you have changes in the way the devices are fabricated and so on. So that's actually one of the biggest area of research in our department. We have a class 100 clean room where we do all the device fabrication. We also collaborate with companies such as Global Foundries, which is very close to RPI, and also IBM and other companies, Intel, and so on. Then we have got a huge trend in the artificial intelligence field of artificial intelligence, whether it's from brain computer interfaces to AI systems. And then we have electric vehicle as one of the prime topic in today's research. All of these are research areas in general. I'm not saying we are specializing in all of these. I'll show you what are the specific focus of our department, but I thought, like, to start with, let's look at some of these areas which are very generic to our field today, and which are cutting edge. Then we have got high performance computing, whether that's in form of exascale computing or neuromorphic computing. which basically replicates how a human brain works and replicating that in a computing system. Then we have got self-driving car, as you know, which is also known as autonomous vehicles, drones, space technologies. There's a lot of things going on in these fields that electrical engineers, computer systems engineers, power engineers are involved. And then next, there's a field of digital manufacturing, which is basically revolutionizing the way manufacturing world works, and it is all based on 3D printing kind of technology. You design something from your desk, and it gets fabricated in foundries. So that's actually a big thing, and here robotics plays a significant role, and our department is very strong on robotics. Next is clean energy, whether it's solar or wind, geothermal. All of these topics have a strong component of electrical engineering as well as computer systems engineering. So, smart grid, for example, is a field where power engineering and systems engineering as well as computer science comes together, and we have a strong presence in this area. And then the other areas are healthcare technologies, systems that are used in the healthcare industry. That's actually, again, a lot of components are related to ECSE. Cybersecurity, again, a big field, resilient power, like I said, and so on. So these are some of the big areas where electrical engineering, computer engineering, and power engineering research is going on today. And we have got many components of these in our department that are specifically worked on by different professors and different groups in the department. One more thing I wanted to add that like I mentioned earlier, that we are also looking. We work in areas which has got relevance for the society, and if you want to look at what that means, you can look at this beautiful document called as the NAE, National Academy of Engineering Grand Challenges for Engineering document, and there they have these grand challenges that you see here. There are many of them. I'm not going to spend time talking about that. I just wanted to highlight the ones which where we uh, 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 we have strong presence of research in our department, and when you see these, you can actually map these research that are the 21st century grand challenges research areas to our department research in different groups. So this is again a very important aspect of making sure that we are not only working on research, but we're also working on research that are grand challenges as identified by the NAE Grand Challenges document. There's another thing which I want to mention, that the reason we are talking about all of these things is there is a study that has been reported many years ago, which shows that students who are aware of these areas when they get involved with research, they are they have a better actually perception towards not only the importance and interest in their interest in engineering, but also like they can make more relevant contribution while they are working in their own research area. So that's actually very, very important, that you have to be aware of all these aspects, which actually brings more value to your research than if you are not aware of this. And that's the reason I wanted to actually talk about these topics and make you aware that these are some of the things which we look for, we keep in mind while we are doing research, and also use these as the guiding principles for our research focus. And this is actually one of the last slides where I'm talking generally about the research and education. And this is actually a very well-known quadrant figure, which shows the quest for fundamental understanding versus the relevance for immediate application. That means, and that means as you go on towards more on the right hand side of this diagram here, you are more applied, and then there is a pure research here. At RPI, we focus primarily on a quadrant called the Pastures quadrant, which means it's a use-inspired basic research. That means, like I was saying, that we have got near-term applications of our research, and which is inspired by any problems that we have in the society today. And there is the theme known as the learn by doing. So you learn by solving a problem instead of just doing bottom up research where you're just doing some fundamental research which doesn't have which has a lot of fundamental value, strong value, but maybe the applications are many decades away. we work on, most of our research is focused on finding solutions which are near term, and that's where the use inspired basic research comes into the picture. So the research is still very fundamental, but it's done for solving challenges or a problem which has a near term application. So that's known as the Pasteur's quadrant research area. And here, basically, both the research and education gets integrated, and we are very strong on that. So our department here is some here are some statistics. We have undergraduate students around 700, master students around like 30, PhD students around 100. Some of these numbers are getting updated as we speak, and these are some traditional numbers. We have faculty members around 28, which are tenure track faculty members, and we have a professor of practice around 7 to 8, and a significant amount of staff members who help us run our different educational programs and research programs. We are ranked again on the top 50 in the US News and World Report. We have faculty members with a lot of honors, all the way from National Medals of Technology Award to IEEE Fellows, NSF Career Awards, NAE members, and so on. The programs that we offer are the BS, MS, MEng, Master of Engineering, and PhD. Master of Engineering and MS, they are kind of like in the same umbrella, and and they have some. Most of it is common, and we can talk more about that if you have any questions. And you can find a lot of this information that I'm talking about on our website. So if you go to our website, you'll find all of the information and even more based on what you need. So we do publish a lot of papers, close to around 100, 120 journal articles every year in our department. And we thrive on what is known as pedagogy innovation. That means how we integrate research and teaching. So anything that we research, we try to bring it to our classroom teaching in real time. And we upgrade our courses, and also we have got this hands-on teaching. Like, for example, I'm teaching a course this semester on electronics. It's all remote right now, but we do experiments, with chip on lab on a chip. Basically, we have got chips through which we build electronic circuits, and we have got interfaces which connects with the lab at RPI, and so we can do all of these things, and we have innovated this for many, many years. It's not a COVID thing. We have done this kind of pedagogy innovation for many decades now, and again, our department is very strong on what is known as studio mode of teaching, where we do experiments and lecture at the same time in the same session. Okay, so I'm a little bit behind time. I want to go over some of the information next few slides quickly, and then keep more time for Q&A. So here are the research areas in our department. Again, you can find all of this information on our website. Either you can click on the research, faculty-based research summaries, which you can find out on our website, where we have summarized the research areas of different professors, and also you can look at the different areas of research. So here are the 6 overarching areas of research: control and automation, which is mainly robotics; information science and systems; communication and networking; energy and power; electronics and microphotonics, which is my area of research; and computer systems design. And we also have what are known as the research centers, like I mentioned, and ECSE has a strong contribution towards these research centers. One of them, which is a very prestigious one, and the first one at RPI that we have won, is known as the NSF Engineering Research Center. It's on LED-based lighting. And here is the website again. I used to be the deputy director of the center for many years. And then we have the energy related and smart grid related energy engineering research center. That's the current. And then we have a center for future energy systems and automation technologies and systems, which is a robotic system mainly. And then we have connection one. As I mentioned, we also have collaboration with other research centers at RPI, which are listed here, as well as other departments. Here is a photograph of some of the I would say, like, pioneers of our department. These are only few. I don't have a lot of space to put all this diagram, but you can go to our website and learn about our very successful alumni. For example, Dr. Steve Sasson is actually the inventor of the digital camera. Okay, so and then Dr. G. Baliga, who is a professor at North Carolina University, he also got the White House Medal a few years ago, and so on. And Curtis Prine is the co-founder of NVIDIA. So we have a very strong alumni group who are very successful in the real world. So that shows that like the education that we provide to our students also put them towards the path of success in their career. If you want to look at the depth of our research, the best way to do that is looking at not just a research paper but also books published by our faculty members, our professors. And here are some examples of books in different areas that have been published by our professors. As I mentioned, we work with students at different level, all the way from kindergarten level to outreach programs. And actually, when I say that, the reason I'm mentioning that is our graduate students do get involved in not just research but also teaching, a very small fraction of their time, but yet which is important for them to start learning how to teach. And when you teach, you learn things better. And we do that at all levels, starting from local area schools. We collaborate with them from kindergarten to grade 12, and then undergraduate students and so on. So we have a very strong program in the undergraduate research. We call it URP, Undergraduate Research Program, where undergraduate researchers work with graduate students in the lab, or if they are doing simulation or theoretical research, they collaborate so that they can actually not only graduate students can not only research but they can also teach their peers, and that actually makes a very strong factor, especially if you're applying for academic jobs after you graduate, or also like even industrial jobs require you to do some kind of mentoring program. So that helps a lot, and so we engage students at all levels. And you're going to see that as a graduate student, you will be interacting with students in different intellectual levels as well as age groups. So in the degree program, like I said, we have computer systems engineering, electrical engineering, and electric power, and these are the degrees that we provide. For MS and MEng, Master of Engineering, we have got 30 credit hours beyond BS degree. For PhD, it is 72 credit hours beyond BS degree. And typically, we recommend students to take between 12 to 15 credits per semester. Typical time for graduation, MS degree is anywhere between 1 to 2 years, which is 2 to 4 semesters. So if you're very aggressive, you can take 15 times 2, 30, and that meet your 30 credits in 2 semesters. You can get a degree in 1 year. If you want to actually spread out so that you can, have a more balanced, let's say, work life, personal life, then you can actually spread it over 4 semesters. In 2 years, you can get the 30 credits. So that's the MS program. PhD is anywhere between 3 to 5 years, which translates to 6 to 10 semesters. Many of my students, they have been aggressive and they got their degree within 3.5 years. And this is actually after BS, not after MS. So PhD degree between 3 to 5 years. When I say 3 years, 3 years after BS. So somebody coming with a BS degree, getting a PhD degree in 3 years is not a rare thing in our department. So I would really recommend you to think about this, because this is actually timing is a big factor, I know, for students. And another thing is that which is very important, most of the students, they don't know that PhD program or graduate program in general, they are financially supported by the institute, either through research assistant or teaching assistant. We prefer to actually fund the PhD students first, because they spend more time here. We invest a lot of time in them, and then we do. But in addition to that, we do have some limited number of, let's say, for example, teaching assistants support for MS students, but those actually come after the PhD students. So most of the MS students, IMN students, they are self-supported, and but we do have some support which are for very bright students for the as PAs or even RAs. For PhDs, actually this is 95%. When I say it's close to 100%, in fact, this 95% meaning like some students, they do have self-support through some fellowship that they come with, like national fellowship. But typically every student will be supported on some kind of research grant or teaching assistantship when they are here as a doctoral student. So doctoral students are fully funded and you get paid for learning. So that's the best thing you can think of. Uh, there are some. This is a slide which have been changing due to the COVID-related pandemic, and so the more information, the most updated information you can get from the RPI admissions website. But here are some of the, like for example, some of the rules may be like relaxed for the next cycle. I'm not sure where that is, but you can find the most updated information on the admissions website. But if you want to think about a typical year, we have the student selection is based on a lot of factors: their GPA, GRE scores, TOEFL, and also the most important thing which I'm going to talk about is their letter that they write as well as recommendation letter. So these are typical scores for the GPA, GRE scores, TOEFL scores. We typically get anywhere between 300 to 350, sometimes 400 applications, and we fill only around 20 positions in our department for PhD and 20 for MS and MH. And like I mentioned, the financial support is primarily for PhD students. One of the things which is very important is that we really take a lot of time. We have an admission committee with professors from different fields. We go through the statement of purpose and the objectives that you write in a very careful way, and that's actually somewhere you can tell us about why you're interested in RPI and our program, and specifically what is your goal going forward in your career, and how this helps, how the program at RPI helps you get there. So that's actually some of the things that you want to highlight in your application. If you've got research experiences or you're done, if you've published papers, do highlight those, which adds up significantly. It's not mandatory to have research papers or research experience, but if you have some, that you should highlight those. So here is again what I was talking about, the statement of background and goals. You should have these following key attributes. One is identifying professors and research areas that match your research interests. You can find those information about the professors and their research areas either by doing Google search, Google Scholar, not Google search, Google Scholar, trying to find out what papers they have published, as well as going to the website, our website, and finding out their research areas. Then describing what research you found most interesting, and if you read any paper from any of the professors, highlight what you found interesting and how you want to contribute towards that field, depending upon your interest. And then anything that is specific to that you want us to know, like any deficiencies. If you had a bad score in a course or a semester, that's not a showstopper for your admission. But if you can explain that, that helps. Any career changes if you had, let's say you wanted to apply for MS program, but you want to do a PhD, eventually to actually use that. If you had a MS program going on in other school and then you want to transfer, also give a rationale for doing that. And the more you tell us about your your interest in coming to our department, helps us go through your application, understand that, and in the selection process. Highlight any publications that you have, any public speaking experiences you may have, technical public speaking, and so on. And so with that, I'm going to wrap up my presentation. Here are the websites, the key websites that are important: the ECSE website, the admissions website, where you can find all the relevant information for applying to RPI. If you have any questions which are related to graduate application process, please contact the grad admissions at this email. If you got any questions related to the ECC program, please send an email to the gradinfo at ecsc.rpa.edu, and so on. And or to Miss Kelly Kritz, and she has, you can find her email address on the RPI ECC website contact address. So with that, I'm going to actually stop here and open up for question and answers. And thank you again for joining us today, and look forward to having an application and seeing you at RPI, and let us know how can we help you in this process. Thank you.
So one thing I would like to just add, because of COVID-19, we have made one modification. As Dr. Jetta was saying, the GRE this year will be optional. So for fall 2021 applicants, the GRE exam is an optional part of your application. So if you have already submitted an application, I'll put my email address in the chat box. Please send me an email, and we can remove that from your application if you would like. So again, the GRE for fall 2021 only is optional.
Thank you, Mary Kate. I that's what I thought. I just want to make sure that that was the accepted for the fall 2021, and so
Yes.
looks like that is okay.
Yep.
So it looks like there's a question saying, asking what was that? Let me see. I lost it somewhere. Chat box.
All right, so we have two questions actually. So the first is, what specialization should I choose if I'm interested in embedded systems and LOT? I think that might be IoT.
IoT. IoT.
IoT, yeah.
So, good question. We have two different areas in our department. One is directly focused on IoT, and one is in the embedded controls. And so that you can, for that, you should choose the automation. The slide that I showed, it has the. Let me just share that again. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Um, I'll get to that slide. You can see here on my screen. So if you have interest in embedded controls, the area would be either control and autonomy, which has the robotics, or you can have the information science and systems, which has the IoT component. So depending upon where is your again, they're highly multidisciplinary in nature, all of these research areas. So depending upon your specific interest, you might be in one of these two areas. Also, applications of some of this IoT is in the area of communication and networking. So I just want to highlight that depending upon the application area where you want to use your knowledge that you gain, you can be in any of these three areas. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, so we have a couple other questions here that I'll read. The first is, what is a question about the IELTS. So for the application process, the IELTS minimum is a 6.5. For the application review process, students are able to submit unofficial copies of their IELTS, their TOEFL, and or their GRE. So you only are required to submit official copies, which come from the testing agency if you are admitted. So I think that should answer a couple questions about the test scores. Let me see. If I don't submit my GRE score, will it have a negative impact? So again, it's really up to each student whether or not they choose to admit and submit their GRE score. I guess maybe if you have any insight onto whether not submitting the scores might affect them, but I can't really speak on that.
So one of the earlier questions about, do you offer MS program in artificial intelligence or machine learning or data science? The answer is yes. We have a strong program in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, all at the same time. And you can find that information on our website. Few professors are really focused on that. They're also offering courses in these areas. So if you look at the courses that are offered from our department, you'll find specific courses on machine learning and data science, as well as IoT or our AI. So the answer is yes, we do have programs in all of these areas.
Okay, let's see. Next question. Is there any scholarship support for PhD applicants in power engineering with a distinction grade in master's degree?
Uh,
So I guess the question is, the student has a master's already.
yeah.
So is there any scholarship support for PhD applicants in power engineering?
So this is actually a very good question. We do have the Granger Fellowship, which is dedicated for power engineering. It doesn't cover. I'm not sure about the specifics of the fellowship. It does cover of the some aspects, but in general, I would say that for any of the program, whether it's power engineering or computer engineering or electrical engineering, all of the programs, whenever you get involved with the research aspect, we have specific RAs, research assistants, based on the projects that the professors have, funded projects. So yeah, that would be the general answer. And so there is, and then we have do have scholarships that are available from time to time, but there's nothing specific. I know the Granger Fellowship offers some support for the power engineering students. Uh, but yeah, that's something you can work with Kelly to find out more details. I do not have the specific details as to what's available for next year cycle.
Great. So we have a couple other questions coming in. We would love, I think, to make it a little bit more of an interactive experience. I have two questions, and then we would love to hear from you. So please feel free to use the raise your hand feature for Zoom, and you can unmute your microphone and ask a question. So I'll do this one first, and then we can kind of shift and hear from more of you. So the question that I'm going to read is, for sending unofficial GRE and or IELTS scores during the applications, should we send the screenshots of the scores, or should we just mention those scores in a document? That's a great question. We recommend that you send a screenshot of the scores. You can manually upload it from there. You can also email us at gradadmissions@rpi.edu the image of the screenshot if you would prefer. So those are two different options. So if anybody has a question, please feel free to unmute your microphone and ask.
So I actually have a general thing to mention, since I saw a private question right now. Uh, we do not have like these so-called, what many, maybe some schools provide, like a program, a dedicated program, a certificate program in a narrow area like artificial intelligence or energy. We don't have these kind of certificate programs. So when we have like an MS program, I think I'm getting an echoing because some mics are on. So yeah, so what I'm saying is that there is no degree program in AI or machine learning. You're not going to get that like a degree, like certificate program in any area when you get an MS degree or PhD degree. We try to have a more holistic education, and the degree is going to be in ECSE. Okay, so and then within ECSE, when you come here, you're going to be spending most of your time in a concentrated area of the ECSE, whether it is AI or IoT or electronics or photonics or power. But in the end, you're going to get a degree in ECSE. Okay, you're not going to get a degree in AI or machine learning. And so I just want to actually mention that, because I saw a question right now on that particular aspect. So do not expect to get a degree in a very small niche. You're going to get a big degree, which is a ECSE degree, which is kind of more beneficial than having a certificate in one of the areas. But if you're going to specialize in one of them, you're not going to specialize in everything. You're going to specialize in one of the areas, but the degree is still going to be ECSE degree. I hope that clarifies the some of the questions that you might have, since I saw one question on that particular aspect.
Awesome. We have somebody who has raised their hand. So thank you for your question. Go ahead. I think, let me find you. There you are. Chibuki, we'd love to hear your question.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Chibike. I'm from Nigeria, a PhD aspirant. or in the field of power engineering. And the one that asked the question concerned the scholarship support for candidates. And from his explanations, I get to understand that there are research assistant programs, of which I know that this for want to get this research assistant, the person had to write GRE, yes, and got a suitable score, a very high score for you to be given that opportunity. So my question is, like now, this fall of 2021, that you have made a GRE optional, we want to actually apply without having the GRE? That's my question. Or would the person still get the opportunity to be offered a research assistant in that same field?
I didn't actually understand the question specifically. Can you repeat the question again? And it does a little bit of audio issues. And let's, can you repeat your question again so I can actually understand and respond appropriately?
All right. My question goes this way. Without GRE score, could someone be offered a research assistant in the PhD level? That's my question. Without having GRE score.
Yeah, so if so the answer is yes. If we are waiving the GRE score aspect, we're going to still look at the application like we do holistically. Look at your statement of purpose, look at your recommendation letters, which are very important, and then make the decision. I want to actually also add to that, since I saw a question about the process in which we select the students for fellowship. So there are a couple of questions in those lines. It's a very comprehensive process. So what happens when the application comes in to our department? We have a committee from of professors from different areas, and then we actually look at all the applications depending upon the expertise of the faculty members. So we ask you to select a primary and a secondary area of your interest, research interest. So based on that, we have got professors in those areas who are in the committee. They're going to be taking those applications, reviewing them, and then after they do a first screening, if they find, like, let's say you have written about some professors, like, Professor X, about their research, we actually ask Professor X to review that application if they have interest in you. And that then it gets actually more specific than, like, you're going to be some professor whom you want to research with, they're going to be looking at your application. So it's not just a committee member from that area, but also the professor about whom you have spoken, mentioned in your background statement of purpose, letter. So they're going to be looking at your application. So it's a very comprehensive process, and then the decisions are made. The recommendation letters are very important. So let's say if you got like two or three recommendation letters that are coming from professors with whom you have worked. The recommendation letters have to be strong in the sense that it cannot be just like hardworking, good student, very nice to work. I mean, those are very, very general. Everybody, gets that kind of letter. It has to be more on what have they found very impressive about you in the technical area, while they work with you. So those kind of things have to be highlighted in the recommendation letters. Since it is a very competitive process, we go through recommendation letters also very carefully, and then we look at your statement of purpose, and all of these things are used in finding on deciding out the candidates whom we select, and also to whom we offer fellowship. Another thing about the fellowship is, let's say we like all students to get some teaching experience, and teaching experience comes through you're not going to teach a course at RPI, but you'll be helping as a teaching assistant with the professor in different courses. So if you know a certain material well from your undergraduate education, that could also help us select you for a TF fellowship to start with, and which gets converted into RA fellowship when you are here. That's a typical mode for students getting fellowships to come in. So what I want to say is that there are many aspects that we look at when we evaluate the application. It is not just one professor liking a candidate and then they get through. It doesn't happen that way. There's a committee who looks at the application first, then the professors whom we are interested, they look at the application, then we look at what's the probability of your being helping us in the teaching program. Most of our students, they have both TAs and RAs while they are here. There are very few students, or hardly, I'm not aware of anyone who came as a RA and graduated as an RA. That's actually a very, like, rare thing. So we encourage you to really address all of these in your application. I hope that helps answer your questions.
Awesome, great. So Shankar, please unmute and we'd love to hear your question.
Hi everyone. This is Shankar from India. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Yeah, I have a small doubt regarding the transcripts. So on the official ECSE like graduate admissions page, it is written that we need official transcripts to be sent from the college. And but when I also checked on the admissions like general graduate admissions page, here it is written that we just need to send the unofficial ones. So can you please clarify regarding that?
Mary Kate, you want to take that?
Yes. So when you apply, you will submit your unofficial. So you can send us a copy that you self-submit. If you are admitted at that time, you will be asked to submit official copies. Also for international students, what we often have them do is just bring a copy of their degree, their diploma, and transcripts, the official versions of those, to the United States, to campus when they come for classes. So I was actually answering another student's question in the chat box. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, let me know.
I have just one more doubt. So do I need to upload my degree, like unofficial degree while applying, or is it just unofficial transcripts?
You can also submit your degree as well. They can be unofficial copies, like I said, but yes, if you can include that, that's also fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, great. Great questions. Thank you.
So I see a question on the chat box. I'm going to actually respond to that. So is there a need to contact any faculty prior to applying? So the answer is yes. I mean, like, there is no need, but if you wish, you can do that. Like I said, professors actually, when we get your application, we look at every application very carefully. So, but in the meantime, if you want to actually write to any professor and learn more about the research area, definitely feel free to do that. That's not going to actually change your probability of probability of getting or not getting into RPI. It is a good exercise to learn more about their research. But also, I would like to let you know that, like, we get a lot of, queries from students all over the world asking about our research. So it's a question of, like, do we have time to respond to every of one of you? The answer is no these days. So I would actually we like our students to be self-learning. When I was a PhD student, my advisor just gave me a sheet of, like, paper on a literally on a bathroom tissue, written about some material, and asked me to actually find out what I can do in that material, and that's how my research got started. So we want our students to be independent learner. So if you keep on asking, like, okay, what are you working on, this, that, then we know that you are not using the process of doctoral student, which is basically self-learning process. You go to the Google Scholar, you have journals that you can access to your institution, learn about your process. So we use that also as a metric without telling you. So even though I would recommend you to really ask specific question to a professor about any area, but before that, I strongly encourage you to do a good due diligence on that research because you have a public domain information which is available to you through the journals online, Google Scholar, and then if you have a specific question which you're interested in working, then that should be the theme of your email, as opposed to Professor X, I'm very interested in your research. Can you tell more about that? I don't think so. You're going to get response to that in this day and age where you have access to literature online. So I want to be very honest about about what we look for in our students. We want our students to be successful, and to be successful in the program, you have to be independent learner. You have to actually make your own individual contribution. In fact, PhD degrees are given for research that is original and done for the first time. So that process starts from literature searching your research topic, and so on. So we don't want to spoon feed you on every information. So I want to be clear about that, and we expect our students to be self-learner, challenge themselves to get most of the information, and then when you need a specific information, you can ask. Okay, but that's good. I mean, like, we like to interact with students who ask for very specific information, which is intellectually driven by their curiosity, as opposed to asking about, like, what can I work in your group? Can you tell more about your group? I don't think so that information is going to come from any of us. I hope that answers your question. I saw some of the questions mentioned in the chat box. Hope that is actually there. There is no need to contact us because, as I said, we do go through every application. If you find impressive work about any professor, write that in your application with the professor's name and any paper that you read which impressed you, and then we'll go from there. We'll look at those information very carefully. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great answer and question. We get that a lot. The next one, Moshir, let's have you take off your microphone or take off mute and please ask us the question.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I am Moshir Rahman from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I'm working in academia in a private university in Bangladesh in the Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering. Due to my some family issues, I have a huge gap in education. Recently, I have started my MS in a public university and complete my courses and working on my thesis that is on power electronics and power converters related. My question is, does it affect adversely my my study gap? I have a study gap, a huge study gap. Does it affect adversely in my application process for my PhD?
The answer is no. So we understand that every one of us have some like personal as well as career related issues, or like, every some people actually in our program, they have worked, they have gone to military, and then they came back, then they're continuing their education. So we say education and research is a lifelong journey. So it doesn't matter where you are in that particular journey. So I would like to say that, like, these are the things we don't worry about in the application process. We want to see, like, why you are why do you want to come to RPI, into the ECSE department, to continue that journey. So it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. We encourage students from every background in their journey, like, in their career and professional and personal journeys, to apply, and we go from there. So that's what my general answer is. There is another question that I saw, which I wanted to also answer, which is related, like, how much career or job support is there for PhD students after they complete their degree? Uh, okay, so like I said, each of us, we have, so in summary, anybody who got a degree from a department is not unemployed. In fact, they're employed in a very big organization, or a small organization, or government organization. So if you have a degree from RPI, I don't think so. I don't know of any one individual who doesn't have a job. Okay, so when you are doing a research, you not only get to learn about the research, you get to learn about the industry in general, the academic opportunities, the opportunities in the national lab, and so on. So we don't actually guarantee you a job by saying that, okay, if you have this degree in this area, here are the jobs that you're going to have. I mean, there are examples of companies where our students go, and that's a natural process. I mean, when you have a degree, you get absorbed by the industry in the right field, but that's something that has happened very, very naturally. So I don't think so. You need to be worried about that. I can tell you examples of my own students. I've got like 21 PhD students which have got a degree in my group with working with me, and they had jobs like 6 months or a year before they even wrote their thesis. Okay, they're in the area of microelectronics in companies like Intel, IBM, Motorola, and so on. And same goes with any other like field. I don't think students are write their thesis and then they're looking for jobs. I mean, like, of course, that's up to you, because like, if you want to do that, that's fine. But I am not aware of students trying to actually look for jobs after they get PhD. Now, some students, they want to continue as a postdoctoral fellow because that's actually a path towards academic jobs. So academic jobs look for more experience than PhD. And if you've got like a year or two postdoctoral, experience, that helps a lot. I myself had a postdoctoral, experience at RPI. I came to RPI as a postdoc in 1996. I did 2 years of postdoc, and then I got faculty. I mean, I didn't get, that was not a natural thing, but I had to apply for a faculty position, and eventually I became a faculty member at the ECSE department. So, but that was again like, a specific, pathway that I had chosen. I don't think so. Anybody has to be worried about a job opportunity when you get into this program, the doctoral program. I hope that answers your question.
Great. So our next question will come from Sadman. Please feel free to unmute and ask us your question.
Thank you for the opportunity. In continuation with the last answer, that a person can directly apply after completing the bachelor's degree to a PhD program. If a person applies like that and gets selected for the PhD program, then will that person have to complete a master's degree in your institute, or will that person directly start the PhD program?
Okay, very good question. And I saw actually another question on in the chat box. So yeah, so most of our students, they apply directly from their bachelor's program. So, and you don't have to finish an MS to PhD. So like I said in my presentation, if you're applying directly after bachelor's degree to RPI for the PhD program, you can still get a PhD within 3 to 5 years. Like I said, many of my students who came with a bachelor's degree joined my group, and within 3.5 years, they had a PhD degree and they graduated with a PhD degree. So that's possible. Now, if you want to add a MS degree on the way to PhD, like you want to have in your title, like doctor somebody XYZ, MS PhD, which means you want to get a MS degree in addition to PhD degree. That's possible. It's a simple process. While you're doing your PhD, if you want to finish off your first 30 credits and then apply for an MS degree, you can get that, and then continue with your PhD program. That's possible, completely possible. It's an internal process. It's a simple form that you need to fill out and submit. You can do that while you're here. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You can just continue your PhD and get your 72 credits after BS and get that degree. But you can also add a MS degree while you're doing your PhD degree. That's a different process. You can also apply for MS, and while you're in MS program, you can apply for a PhD, and that's a separate like application while you're here. You can do that as well. In fact, one of my current students, he came to do a MS, but then he converted into a PhD program, and we do that. And you don't have to then finish your MS, thesis or MS degree requirement. You can just transition from MS to PhD while you're here. Of course, there's a separate application. It's not a guarantee, but we do look at that application as a fresh application, and we make the decision. So there is a lot of flexibility here. But to answer the basic question, can you apply for a PhD while after BS? The answer is yes.
Great. So I think we might have time for one or two more questions. Darun, if you'd like to unmute, we'd love to hear your question.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, I'm Darun. Do MS students get funding and scholarships? Because you've mentioned all the funding for PhD students, but how about fundings and scholarships for MS students, and yeah, can you tell
Okay, so
about
yeah,
that?
so a good question. Funding is limited, and it's preferred for PhD students because they are going to spend more time here. So first of all, we look at all the PhD candidates first, and then when the funding we provide, I mean, all the funding is like as allocated for the PhD program students. Then we have additional funding. If we have additional funding left over, we then pick up the highly performing MS students in our department and provide them with some funding. We have many MS students this semester who are getting funded as TA, Teaching Assistant Fellowship. But having said that, most of the MS students, they are self-funded in our department. That means they come with their own funding. And the reason is because we like to first of all prioritize our funding for the PhD students, and if we have anything left after that, we provide to MS students. So that would be my answer.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So I think we'll have time for one more, Kevin. If you would please feel free to share with us your question.
Hi. In what year do PhD students start research? Because I know PhD students have to take like certain classes in order to help further research. So what year that would be?
Okay. So what year? I would say day one. So you come to RPI. In fact, actually, some of the students, they even actually start their literature survey before they arrive at RPI. We want you to get involved with. So research is nothing. Research is, again, getting back to the philosophy of research. Okay, so research is not like a degree program where you learn something, take a quiz, and then you get a grade. It's not like that. It starts like out of interest, of your own interest. So if you are looking for a PhD program position at RPI, we expect you to be a self researcher already, which means that you're already doing literature survey before you came here. Nobody's going to actually ask you, hey, like, next month I want you to do this. So we want you to really get involved with the process now. Okay, and that's what we look for in the application as well. So when you get here, let's say you got into the program, selected in the program, and then you got your visa, or, like all the paperwork is taken care, and you're coming here, your professors might actually ask you to start looking at some papers even before you arrive on campus. So that means your research is a very big thing. It starts with literature survey, like what other people have done, like in the area, and then you come up with formulate your own path, about topics, about the research, the problem, or the research problem with your professors. That process can start like as soon as you get into the program while you're away, and then that continues when you arrive here. So your research starts now. I mean, like basically even before you apply. So that would be my like sense. In fact, most of my students, when before they arrived here, they had all the papers that they were reading before they arrived here on the research topic they are working on right now. And they get training from day one. So let's say you're taking coursework. So you're going to be taking a lot of coursework to start with in early semester one, semester two. You have to pass a doctoral qualifying exam. So when you're doing your the coursework, you're also actually doing some amount of research. So it's not like, okay, semester one and semester two only courses, and then semester three the research. There's nothing like that. You basically start on research on day one, and in fact, actually before even day one, before you arrive here on campus. So that's the philosophy of research, where research is self-driven motivation to learn something new and contribute something new, and that process should start even before you arrive here, and that's what our expectations are from you. I hope that
Okay,
answers
thank you.
your question. Yeah.
Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. If it's okay, I think we can do one more question if we have time. How can I elevate my application if I have 2 years work as an embedded IoT engineer?
Okay, so that's a very good question. A lot of students, like I said before, that depending upon where you are in your professional journey, you are applying to our department for advanced education. In this case, MS or PhD. We look at your experience, and you have to tell us like how that experience connects you with the education that you want to get at RPI, and your future career. So I think if you can actually pave that path for us, that helps us a lot in understanding why you want to come to RPI. Like I said, it's a very competitive process, a lot of applications, and we choose only handful of the applications. So if you can clearly specify that, okay, well, I have experience in this field, and here are the things that I want to learn more to advance my career. And RPI ECSE department provides me all these opportunities because I see this course been offered, this professor working in this field. If you be very, very specific, it helps us. So a lot of students, they in the application, they write a lot of good stuff about where they see their future, but sometimes it's not very clear. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly the path that you write in the application has to be the path that you follow. In fact, that's a flexibility in professional career that you can navigate through any path that you want depending upon how your interest changes. But at the same time, if you have a path that works for you, you need to carve out that path. That means that your experience, what you and what from that experience, what can you learn more in at RPI, which will help you in your future career. If you can actually talk about that, that will help a lot. We don't actually offer too much of we don't actually spend too much of time looking at okay, somebody with like 5 years of experience in the industry versus no experience. That's actually, we don't look at that. We actually look at why do you want to come here after 5 years versus you to come without an experience. So the probability of somebody with 5 years of experience in the industry versus a fresh graduate after a BS education is same. So as long as you write down what's your motivation to come to RPI, is spelled out. So I hope that actually answers your question. Again, you don't have to have 5 years experience to get the edge over somebody who is a fresh graduate from a college. So that's not the case. We look at your application based on your self motivation to progress your career. Again, be ready to learn independently without spoon feeding, contribute towards the advancement of science and technology, and so on. So it's a very holistic program, and we look at applications from these kind of aspects.
Awesome. Well, I think that will conclude our event today. If there's nothing else that Kelly or Partha you'd like to add, I think it was great. Thank you all so much for coming. Yes, Kelly put her email address in the chat box. I will also type mine in as well. Please feel free to email either of us if you have questions. We're happy to help. And thank you again, everybody. We hope you stay safe during this kind of crazy and unique time. And we will see your application soon.
Okay, thank you again. Nice to see all of you, and thanks, Mary Kate, for organizing this wonderful webinar. And I'm sure, like most of you, benefited from this discussion. Like I said, if you have got any other question, you can contact Mary Kate or Kelly Fritz, and then they will be happy to connect with one of us in the department. And again, feel free to reach out to them, and they'll connect you with me if you need any more information from me. And hope to see your application and having you at RPI. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Yes, we have a few more questions coming in, actually, which is good.